you give us a synopsis, Rabbi?
Torah, Parsha's Toldot, page 40, bottom of the first column. Okay, the last thing we were learning, the Alter Rebbe is explaining why Yitzchak Avinu wanted to bless Esav, because he thought by giving this super powerful bracha, he'll elevate the klipa to be able to go up to Kedusha. The problem is, it wasn't the time or the place, because that birur has to go through Yaakov Avinu, like he explained. And he says that normally the birurim have to be through the level of Zah. The birurim of Teiu normally have to be through the level of Zah, of the 6 spheres of Atzilus. He wanted to do without all that, but it didn't work. So he says, now we can understand the pasuk that the Maimer is based on. You should see the smell of this, the smell of my son, right in today's Chitash, that when Yaakov Avinu came in, Gan Eden, even though goat skin smells awful, but Gan Eden came in with it. Like we learned the other day, that in the 11 Sabamonim, because in Kedusha there's 10, but Levaina is the intermediary between Kedusha and Klipa. So Yitzchak wanted to reveal the level of Levaina in Esav, which hopefully would elevate him. Every hamshach has to be man, has to be through an elevation from below. It's known. In other words, like this. Anytime there's a revelation from above, you need a vessel for it. If there's no vessel for it, then you can light a lighter and get a lot of sparks, but if there's no fuel, there's no keli from below, it's not going to work. He says like this: to get hamshacha pnimius, then you need mayim nukva, meaning feminine water, which is the avoid of the Jew. You need bechinas pnimius. So he says, in other words, like this: the keli has to be similar to what you're trying to bring down. If you're trying to bring down a pnimi level, an internal level, then the keli has to be pnimi. If you want to bring down a makif level, an encompassing level, then the keli has to be encompassing, because the keli has to be proportionate to what you want to bring down. So he says, Vine, reach is Allah's man. What is smell? Smell is Allah's man, shebechinas chayei. Okay? It's from we call it returning revelation, not, I'll explain in a second. When we gabras, like it says, sweet things don't smell, but it has a sharp odor, is bitter stuff. In other words, it says like this: there is or yashar and or chayei. Okay, very simple. Or yashar is the straight light, or chayei means the returning light, meaning it's the reflecting light. You could be in the sun and you get sunlight, but then when the sun hits the sidewalk and bounces back, is also a heat and a warmth and a light. And in fact, you can get worse sunburn from the bouncing off sunlight than you could from direct sunlight. Okay? So he says, what's the inyan of reach? Reach is the level going momata lemaila. He's going to explain. Because avodah is to elevate the sparks of kedusha that fell from shviras hakelim. L'chein b'chol mitzvahs lo nemar reich nichayach, like it says in Korbanos. We learned in another Maimer, Alter Rebbe explains it a little differently, but here the Alter Rebbe says like this: by Korbanos, it always says reich nichayach Hashem. It's a good smell to Hashem. All other mitzvahs, it doesn't say. When you put on tefillin, it doesn't say reich nichayach Hashem. V'asulahem tzitzis reich nichayach Hashem. It doesn't say that by any mitzvah. Good smell for Hashem. By Korbanos, it says reich nichayach Hashem. So Rashi quotes in the Medrash, what does it mean, reach necha, good smell? I mean, Hashem doesn't smell, and if anything, burnt animal skin stinks. There's no reach necha by a burnt animal skin. It's awful. Even if somebody burns their nails, it's an awful smell. So what does it mean, reach necha? So the Medrash says, and Rashi quotes it in Chumash, what's the good smell? Sha'amarti v'naseh retzeni. I told them to do it, and they did it. That's the Hashem's good smell, so to speak. So Chassidus asked the question, so why doesn't it say that by every mitzvah? Every mitzvah we're doing, Hashem told us to do it, and we do it. So the Alter Rebbe is answering now like this. Because korbanis is taking an animalistic things, which represents the animals of the world, including the Yetzer Hara and of Shabbamis, the animal soul and all that, and you're elevating it on the Mizbeach that is becoming consumed in the godly fire. That level of elevating the Gashmistic physical world doesn't exist by any other mitzvah as like it does by a korban, by an animal. An animal, you're taking an animal and bringing it up as a korban. In other words, spiritually speaking, you're elevating your Yetzer Hara to animal soul to Kedusha. So yes, Tefillin does it, and Tzitzis does it, and all that does it, but not in the same way that Korbanos does it. Okay? So now we're saying by Yaakov Avinu when he walked in, it's Reach Nechayach, which is similar to the good smell of a korban. What's the good smell of a korban? That the animal is Or Chayzer, it's returning from below up. We learned many times, davening is instead of korbanos, right? Now we don't have a base midrash, so we daven. There's Torah and there's Tefillah. Torah is, you learn Torah, it's God's wisdom, God's Torah, you bring it down into your brain. That's Elokus coming down. Davening, or korbanos for that matter, the origin is really korbanos, is what's the avodah of korbanos? You're taking the physical and you're bringing it on the godly fire. So you're elevating not from a milmaila lamata, not from higher to lower. You're working, davening is korbanos and milmata lamaila. So Yitzchak, he's giving a whole total picture over here. Yitzchak wanted to bless Esav by being mamshech makif. Okay, the super powerful thing. In order for that, you need a keli. The keli of makif is makif. That's what he said. So therefore, when Yaakov walked in, he said, Re'eh b'ni, Reach, which represents korbanis. That's why the Reach was in Gedi Izim, which really was the smell of Gan Eden, was the level of Reach, which is not an internal thing affects the neshama, the body person directly. The Gemara says, Reach, it says in Shchunoch also, Davar shaneshama nenes bei. When you eat food, the body feels it. Smell, the body doesn't get full from smell or from smelling something good. The neshama feels it. By the way, this explains another interesting din. There's a bracha after bracha on food. Why isn't there after bracha on smell? When you smell psamim, you should make very many psamim. They should make an after bracha, just like by food. So the answer is, it's nothing permanent. It doesn't remain. You smell, that's it, it's over. Food, it remains on the hips and the weight and the stomach, whatever. It's permanent. It's retained, because the reich has to do with the neshama. But here the Alter Rebbe is explaining, it's Yaakov is going into Esav to be able to get this makiv bracha, to take it away from Esav, to get this makiv bracha of v'yita and v'yachse v'yita, the giving of this mitala shemayim from Atik and all that stuff. So he had to walk in with a keli for it. What was the keli? The smell, which is Or Chayzer, like korbanos of Gan Eden. That's why everything had to happen the way it happened there. Because he said, L'chem chol ha-mitzvos inam reich nechayach kamei korbanos. Because what's the definition of a korban? The definition of a korban, you take an animal and you elevate it. Shemayla nefesh behema umesapach ve'elav v'nichol be'ishel l'mayla. Now, v'ine reach meishiv v'sen nefesh. Reach, smell, returns the soul. God forbid somebody faints. You give him something sharp to smell. It brings back the soul. Right? It brings back, a person wakes up from the fainting spell. When a person faints, that means the meichen, the seichel leaves. And then then smell wakes it up. So what happens like this? When a person faints, what happens? He's explaining. The seichel leaves, so the person goes to sleep. It's called fainting, but the person goes to sleep. How do you bring them back up? Through the reach, which is hainu aidei ashina haya seichel behelam. Through sleeping, the seichel works when a person sleeps. You dream, but the seichel doesn't work normally. You can dream stupid, crazy things. Right? Dreams, they can dream crazy things. So the seichel is working, but it's not normal. The normal way. Then when you wake up, the seichel is revealed in him openly. How does that happen? Which is and then he says like this. What's the pleasure that the pasuk says? I told them to do it, and they did it. That's the or chayzer. They did it. It's not that I told them to do it. It's that they did it. That's the chiddush. Now, hine Esav lo yad b'chinas gili pnimi. Esav, like he said, is makif. Esav had no elokus internally. All the kedusha of Esav became absorbed, diluted in the thing. There's no residue of kedusha. V'akshay b'chin is makif v'leveina. Therefore it says, what did Yitzchak smell? The smell of the garment. Garment, food, is pnimi. Food you digest internally. Clothing at the level of encompassing. So what happened over here? There's it's all maki from level here. Yitzchak, if you analyze those stuff, Yitzchak told him to bring food. He told him, Yosef, to bring food. Aseli matamim, and I'll bless you. Yeah? Why did he? And without the food, he couldn't bless him. He asked him for a bracha. I said, bring food and then I'll bless you. I mean, you can bless it. You give a bracha, give a bracha. So why did he ask him for food? So it says he needed the keli. He needed the keli to be able to keep the bracha. So Yitzchak wanted to bring Esav into pnimi. He wanted to take the makiv level of Esav and internalize it in Kedusha. That Esav should come back to good. So he told him, bring me food, because we need a pnimistic keli. The pearl, when Yaakov walked in, he had the smell of the beged. The beged is not food. Beged is makiv. Because that was the keli for the makiv bracha that Yitzchak wanted to bless him. And therefore it says, it's a little bit different than just learning Chumash, chitas. It's a little bit different, the whole thing of Yitzchak and Rivka. It's so interesting. When Hashem wrote, dictated Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu, he said, Na'asa Adam, let us make man. So Moshe Rabbeinu, the Medrash says, Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, Na'asa, who's the we? People will make a mistake. They'll think there's a bunch of gods up there. So what does Hashem tell him? Kseiv, you're right, like I'm telling you. Whoever wants to make a mistake, let him make a mistake. I don't care. Which is itself very funny. Why should Hashem want to do something that allows people to make a mistake if he could do it that they don't make a mistake? If you think about it, and you have certain times in Chumash, the Torah says things that when you take it face value, it's pretty sad. When the pasuk says in this week's Parsha, that Rivka loved Yaakov, But so Vayav Yitzchak es Esav ki tzayid b'fiv. Yitzchak loved Esav because Rashi says he gave him food. I mean, Yitzchak loved Esav because he gave him a good steak, he gave him a good dinner, whatever. Yeah? I mean, and that's how people learn simply. That means Rivka loved Yaakov because she saw who Yaakov really was. Why did Yitzchak love Esav? Because he gave him a good meal. I mean, you're talking about Yitzchak Avinu. What does it mean? I told you the story, the famous story. There was once a big Aguda convention. I think it was Tavshin Chav Ches. And one of the main speakers got up and he said that Chabad is like Yitzchak Avinu. Then they're coming out, they're opening against Chabad a lot of things. He says Chabad is like Yitzchak Avinu. Why? He said because just like Yitzchak Avinu liked Esav because he gave him food, Chabad likes the non-religious people because they give them money. That's what he said publicly at an Aguda convention in New York. The next Shah was there then. Still in high school. So the Rebbe spoke a Sikha. First of all, the Rebbe said, thank you very much for comparing Yitzchak, Chabad with Yitzchak Avinu. That's a great compliment. Thank you. Chabad is like Yitzchak Avinu. That's pretty good. And then the Rebbe lashed out. And the Rebbe said, this person, this Rosh Yeshiva is a big rabbi. He asked to go to Marsa Machpelah. And he asked Yitzchak Avinu forgiveness. To come up and say a statement that Yitzchak loved Esav because he gave him food, that's an insult to Yitzchak. You have to go to Marsa Machpelah and you have to ask Mechila. So then the Rebbe lashed out and the Rebbe said the real interpretation, what the Arizal said, what he quoted before, that Yitzchak saw Tzayid Befiv, the sparks of Kedusha in the mouth of Esav. From Esav came Rabbi Meir, Unklis, Shmaya, Naftali, and Rabbi Kiva's father was a Roman Gerd. The whole Torah is based on Rabbi Kiva's teachings. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Kiva, Unklis, So the Arizal said, why did Yitzchak love Esav? Not because he gave him a good steak. Tzayid Befiv, he saw the letters of Torah from the mouth that was going to come out of the mouth of Esav's descendants. So that's why he loved Yitzchak, because he saw the whole Torah of Torah Shebal Peh is based on the teachings of the Gadim. So somebody asked the Rebbe the following, why do you have to go to Marsa Machpelah? There's other ways of asking Mechila without going to Marsa Machpelah. So the Rebbe answered, the Rebbe called the whole thing and learned Shulta Geburim and the whole thing, but he said that there's two options basically. Either to ask Mechila from Yitzchak in the same crowd that you insulted him,
which is impossible,
or go to the grave to ask Mechila. Those are the two options. So the Rebbe said, Parsha was nice to the person. For him to get up and call back all the same crowd and get up and say, I'm an idiot, is less embarrassing than for him to go to Israel and go to Marsa Machpelah and ask him Mechila. But, so the same thing, the Torah does things, the Torah could have written differently. It's very misleading. Yitzchak loved Esav because he gave him food. Come on, it's very misleading. It's not what it means.
So why is the Ksiv so different than the Kri? Why is the Parsha?
It's not Ksiv and Kri. It's the simple meaning is he gave him food.
Why is it so misleading?
Because look what people learn. He gave him a good steak. That's why he liked him. He fooled them. The way the world learns.
Why does the person have to be so misleading?
That's what I'm saying. Why does the Nasa Adam? Why does the pasuk have to be so misleading? If Hashem could have said, "Vayav Yitzchak Esav," for whatever reason, it's because he tied before, which simply means he gave him food. The Torah wants to do that. What?
When they met later on, what did Yaakov saw on Esau that says, "No, you go and I follow"?
Because he thought he would be able to elevate him now, but instead he came to war. He wanted to kill him.
Oh, he come and he kissed him.
Yeah, but that was a temporary thing. Then he saw that he really wanted to kill him still. Yeah, the Nashka B'choli, but he didn't, whatever. That's where Rashi says the famous saying that applies today and yesterday and all that. Halacha Amar Reb Shimon Yochai. Reb Shimon Yochai says, Halacha Ravachas, there's a well-known halacha. Esav saying to Yaakov, a guy hates a Jew, period. That's it. Esav hates Yaakov. And Yaakov saw that the beard of Nitzutzim has to go through Galus and has to go through all the Aved of all the years, and then it can happen.
Who says that? Rabbi Shimon said that?
Yeah.